What's up YouTube? Today we're going to look at another 1/8 scale rallycross buggy, and this one's from Team Magic and it's a M1B. The power of Team Magic. It's quite an interesting one here. Lots of design innovations. So let's dive right in. Firstly, we've got the body shell with this interesting Star Wars type flap on it. So yeah, they've put a hard plastic flap there for refueling. I've got a feeling this has a little piece missing where when you pulled up the flap it actually opened your fuel tank as well. But yeah, notably centre mounted flap, access to the fuel tank here, this lever to pull it up, and it doesn't give you the best access for that hole, but nonetheless they've made a flap for it, so it's not just open, it's not just getting in the mud and dirt around your fuel tank, but it's still pretty easy for a pit stop. Another good feature about it is it's well sealed to your side rails. They've even got a little ridge there, so if you had put Velcro or something it would be a very good seal, but even just resting, that's a nice good seal around there. Can take that off now. Oh, I forgot to give you some dimensions. We've got a 325 wheelbase and 300 track width, so yep, standard dimensions. This is under the body and it's loaded with design innovation. So where should we start? Right, let's start with back to that fuel tank. So you've got this centre mounted fuel tank with this kind of wing shape and a big sticking out wing here. It's got some quite large heavy duty rubber isolator grommets, which is good, and it's quick release, so you just remove these pins, and there should be a third one but I just left it off, and you can just lift the tank out. So that's nice, easy to access. Bit of an odd shape there. That's your fuel tank, easy to get out the way. Have a little look. Got a lot of shrouding around your spare gear and brakes, and then the next interesting part is this carbon radio tray, which is also quick release. So there's 3 pins, pull these ones out, there's a third one there. Then it's still held on by the linkages, so this linkage should be for your brakes, would be on. So you've got to unclip that, and then you'd probably have to unbolt your steering linkage, because that's what would hold it on. And if you've done that, this does just lift up. Got to give it a bit of a wiggle. But look, it's off. Access to your servos, both sides. And it's not just held on by these upright pins. There's the 3 pins with the clips in, but there's also these 2 location dowels which go in these holes, and they provide a lot of bracing to both servos. So they do have, it's not that flexible, it does have that built-in rigidity designed to be there. I think this is a nice feature because sometimes you do have servo failures when either bashing or racing, and some chassis make it so awkward to change those servos, especially if they're flat mounted and they're on the side and well hidden. And you can be just taking out what seems like endless screws in order just to swap a servo out. So I like this design, and it also maintains having the servos flat and as close to the chassis as possible. This little box here is where your receiver goes, and they've actually got it separate for your battery pack, which is an opening box. Decided to have a separate one there, but it also keeps it nicely to the center of the chassis, right opposite your engine, so they've got that in a good location. You've got this throttle servo facing outside, so it uses this linkage on the top to do your brakes and throttle, and all your brake stuff is here. Let me get it up there. So this is your brake lever activating your front and rear brakes. So that's a bit awkward and out of the way compared to if it was on the top conventionally. So you do have to remove the radio tray to access that stuff. Let's turn it around, look from the other side, and there you can see the brake discs more clearly, front and rear one, and your centre diff and spur gear. The chassis got nice features, CNC cutouts in there, that's quite decent, and these longish engine mounts, having that extra length there on the mount gives a good element of bracing. This is your cutout on your drive shafts, and they're pretty conventional drive shafts with a CVD joint and a dog bone at the front, so that's fairly conventional. Moving over to your front steering bell cranks and assembly, let's try and get a look at that. So this is a bit different with this sort of plastic brace that goes across the two and down, and it's quite set forward, and then your steering bar here, sorry, getting a bit awkward trying to hold this in a good place, hold on, right, steering bar here has your steering arms horizontally mounted, not conventionally vertically as it would be on the top. So that's a different feature there. We've got another quick release pin here. Couldn't really work out what that enables you to do, apart from it doesn't have to be a screw because it's providing shear strength, so it just needs to be located. That's that. And let's move on to the front. So notably, we've got these dampers with the mounting here. Now I'm not particularly sure why they went for that, other than over the conventional point at the top. Apart from it does allow you to have it saves you quite a lot of height to not have them have the front tower up here and there. So it gives you a bit of a lower centre of gravity. Although I would say it just does leave the shock caps fully exposed to take any flips or upside down landings or impacts. Whereas if you have a higher shock tower behind them, they are not only braced by the shock tower, but if the shock tower is a little bit higher, it does provide a sort of roll bar effect. They're relatively big bore dampers, definitely for the era of this buggy. They had started moving over to a wider reservoir there and piston. The geometry feels pretty conventional, and the rate slightly progressive. It's also quite conventional. Looking into the arm, looking at the end of the arm, you've got a very tall C-hub assembly, so that provides maximum bracing using the full space inside the wheel, and that's where we've seen design move over towards post this buggy, just getting that maximum vertical height to provide the lateral support. Nice large ball joints. These are quite nicely overbuilt in the plastics, but notably quite a low profile wishbone, lower wishbone arm. So they've obviously had an idea with these lower arms, because not only have they got them smooth, but they have tried to make them as thin as possible with only protrusions or extra thickness where they felt it was required, otherwise the arm has gone thin. I'm not sure why they did that, possibly for aerodynamics, possibly for a bit of flex, but that's something they've gone for. Got some cutouts on these output yokes to save rotating mass and weight, but otherwise a conventional CVD drive shaft and steel differentials. Nice CNC shock tower, low profile, with plastic inserts and some little chips to give some different options there, but not very many options, notably. And let's go to the back of the chassis then. We've missed something out on the centre, which is doesn't have the conventional fore-aft braces. It does have these ribs. There's one there and there's one there. Only 2 mounting points on them, but maybe you could remove them or keep them if you wanted the rigidity or not. I thought they might have put a few different screw holes so you could adjust it, but that's how they've done their front rear bracing, not diagonally as you often find. Going to the back shock tower, some interesting features. You've got a bit of a brace here effect. You've got braces down to the sides of the chassis. The inboard mounting for the upper arm is a big ball joint, and that's a very big ball joint. You know, over 10 millimeters in that. There you go. Let's have a look from the back. So this, interestingly, this wing has got this mono mount. So they've just gone for a single rib there. And it's quick release with a pin. So they like their quick release, let's try and look. They like their quick release stuff there. Let's pull this out. That doesn't come out. But then, in contrast, you're using proprietary wing and wing mount, so you wouldn't be able to get spares so easily. You'd have to have the proprietary spares there. Back end, nice looking back end there. It's pretty designed, this buggy. All the components do also look good as well as functional and innovative. Again, they've gone for their maximum wheel space there. You can see that it's quite a big. They've used all the available space there for that feature. Again, they've gone for a very thin wishbone, which is smooth, and a well sized and braced upper arm. Seems to be a fairly conventional rate on that suspension. You've got this offset mounting again. It seems to fit a lot better in the rear profile, not interfering with wing height and not being overly tall. You can see how that is conventionally lower than a lot of other offerings of buggies. You've got chips here in these inner pivots, so you can change those. I'm not sure what this quite a heavy duty tow bar hitch here. Not sure what the idea was for that. but that's definitely been made strong for a reason. I don't think it was towing. If you know, add it in the comments, and hopefully you can just see in there standard dog bone, CVD on the outside. Let's have a look underneath. So yeah, I've noted these smooth lower wishbone profiles. I guess a good point about that is that would have stopped mud building up. You know, there's not so much space for mud to collect. In conventional wishbone design, well, you know, as you would have experienced yourself, they do clog up with dirt and mud quite easily. Smooth chassis, smooth cutouts. Not much to say really. I took the wheels off so you could just have a look at these hubs there. Conventional C-hub arrangement. So they weren't afraid to use convention where they thought it was the way to go. Similar on the back. So yes guys, let me know what you think. Nearly 20 years old this buggy, around about 2004-05. They pulled out all the stops with the innovation on this one, probably with the hope of winning things. I'm not sure if any of it proved to be so great moving forward, because we don't really see these design features carried forward on newer buggies, or even their replacement for this, which is called the B8. They dropped a lot of these features, but that could also be because people found them just too unconventional or not easy enough to understand. I think I'll be keeping this one for the collection because it just is different. You know, so many different design features on it which are interesting and rare to see and non-conventional. If you raced one of these, if you had one, if you always wanted one, let us know what you thought. What was the impression you had of them back in the day? And there you have it, Team Magic M1B.